they played with Ohio State. You know what? So to me, that's a credit to the Buckeyes and the way the committee looks at them, because they said, "Oh, no, we're not going to do anything with Minnesota. That was a decent loss there to a very good team." So I think they have a high regard for the Buckeyes. I think the Buckeyes, man, just winning out put themselves perhaps in this. You notice what Long said yesterday when the thing came out, when Jeff Long said the difference between 4, 5, 6, and 7 is narrow. It's slim. They're all right there. I mean, and that they've shown that they'll make judgment calls. I'm just saying, I think if Ohio State is relatively impressive through, they're going to be knocking on that door regardless of what the other teams do along the way.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. And the truisms that they talk about in college football rankings, it's, you've got to win in November, and, they say if you're going to lose early. And that's what Ohio State did.
People forget about it. Yeah.
That lost in week 2. And the farther they get away from that loss, the less it appears to matter. And that's not just true with this committee, or it appears to be true with this committee, but it's been true with pollsters and poll voters down through the years, that's just sort of been one of those truisms. You're going to lose a game, lose it in September or whatever, and you forget about it, start to minimize it, and realize how much your team has improved or changed or whatever over the course of the season. So that's the formula the Buckeyes have followed. They lost a game, but they lost in September, and then here down the stretch, and the committee admittedly is impressed with back-to-back impressive road wins over ranked teams. That had top-ranked defenses, and throw the Penn State game in there, too, which had one of the top defenses in the country at the time that they played them. And the last 3 or 4 football games, Buckeyes have looked good. They've done it against ranked teams, top defenses, and they've won convincingly. So I think there's good reason for the committee to be impressed, although I'm still very unsure that the Buckeyes have the kind of a defense of caliber that can win a game if you get into that top 4. I think they're going to compete with anyone just because they're going to score a bunch of points, but the defense still definitely worries me, Jerry.
No, I'm with you. That's the next part of it, but you got to get there first. And obviously the other edge that the Buckeyes may have, do they win out, is that final game is a title game, and that the Big Ten championship, because they did say that they are going to use that as kind of a de facto tiebreaker. If you've got teams that are sitting there like they are now, right there with each other, that separates from the teams that don't have that. So there's an additional thing that could play into that, depending on whether we're talking about TCU, Baylor, Mississippi State, if they don't. So, there's a lot of things there. But the Buckeyes have, for as much as we talked about it, they did, from 2 months ago, play themselves back into this position now, and they're there. And that's all you can do is play each one that's in front of you now. You can't control what any of the other teams are going to do. And so right now you go out there and a bit of I guess you could say breathing room here. I hate to say that. Even when you're talking about a 3-7 team that hasn't won in the Big Ten this season still. But yeah, a bit of breathing room here after a couple of tough ones that you had to fight it out. Talking about Michigan State and Minnesota. Now you've got at home, Indiana here, noon game, and a chance to maybe rack up some of those style points that will hopefully move you up in next week's rankings.
Yeah, and a couple things to say about the Indiana game. First of all, it looks like, and I just checked this morning to see what the weather forecast is for noon Saturday in Columbus. It looks like mid-40s, so it looks like it's going to moderate a little bit. We're going to get
not bad.
Little bit of temperature. We're not going to be playing with a frozen football. But all you've got to do to, get serious about Indiana is realize that, this is a team that went on the road and beat the SEC East leader, Missouri.
They beat Mizzou.
Talk about games that you're scratching your head figuring out how one team won and one team lost. Not only
how did that happen?
Tech, but how in the world did Indiana beat Missouri at Missouri? Still maybe the biggest head scratcher of the season so far. But you're right, 0-6 in the Big Ten. Kevin Wilson's team really sort of regressed this year. One area where they haven't regressed is at running back, where Kevin Coleman would be the bright shining star of most any conference in terms of running backs, in a conference that didn't have Melvin Gordon and Amir Abdullah in it. he really has been a star this year. He's averaging some ungodly number of yards per game, and I don't know what that number is, but he's well over 1,000 yards already, and has had some huge games. Had nearly a 300-yard game on the same day that Melvin Gordon broke the record, and kind of made him a footnote. I think he rushed for 290 some yards last week, as Melvin Gordon was going over 400. And otherwise, he would have been the story of the day. But Tevin Coleman is for real as a running back, and the Buckeyes gave up some big chunks of yardage to David Cobb last week with Minnesota, and they certainly have to be worried about Tevin Coleman. You can concentrate on a guy, and Indiana doesn't have the defense that Minnesota does. You can project a fairly easy victory, but it's also, Tevin Coleman's a guy that can take it to the house anytime he breaks to that second level, and Ohio State's tackling issues and kind of less than Ohio State-ish linebacker play that we've seen over the last several seasons. You can't assume that you're going to, contain anybody, least of all a guy that's this talented.
Yeah, how about Shane Wynn, too, from Cleveland? Had a big game last week for them, had a $120 in the air receiving there and looking to perhaps help out there. But you're right, talking about Coleman. 32 carries last week, 307 yards, and he's all season long. He's been around that 8-9 yard area. He had against Iowa, he had averaged nearly 15 yards a carry. But I got to go back to what you mentioned about how, when you look back at the early season wins and losses, how in the world do you sandwich going on the road and beating Missouri with losing to Bowling Green and getting beaten pretty badly by Maryland? Man, that is how does that happen? How do you go do that, man? I don't know, but they did it. So you're right. They can easily.
It's hard to figure.
They can easily follow up. Really sort of taken. Go ahead. You go.
I was just going to say that Indiana's taken a couple steps backwards this year, and I have no idea how they went into Missouri and won that game. I didn't see the game, and it's just such a head scratcher. They have not played good defense. It looked like Wilson was, for the first year he was there, they got their offense moving, and they had Sudfeld, and they had some passers, Kaufman, and some receivers, Cody Latimer. Those guys are gone. You're right. The Shane Wynn, who's a Glenville kid, did hurt the Buckeyes really the last couple times they've played. Had about a 70-some yard reception for a touchdown, I believe, last year. And so, yeah, he's certainly a guy with a ton of speed that can hurt you. But they don't have the passer this year that they've had, and they don't have, Latimer is gone, and so they don't have the weapons on offense, and their defense, which looked like it had taken a step forward last season, has again been miserable, and they just haven't been able to stop people. So playing in Columbus, they've got some weapons that can hurt you, but again, it's one of those games that the Buckeyes are, if they come out and are focused, and this is the game that can clinch the Big Ten title game for them. So it's hard to imagine that they'd be coming out flat, looking ahead to Michigan or whatever. And Meyer, they do a good job of getting these kids, jacked up every week. They haven't really come out and mailed one in. So it's you'd think that it would be a convincing victory, a 30-point win, maybe get some style points. Again, try to play some younger kids, and really it comes down to what the weather turns out to be. I understand it might be wet, might be rainy. That might limit their scoring, but this should be a game that they can put away fairly early and play some kids in the second half.
I agree. You can zero in on the run here. Wynn is their lone weapon, passing-wise, through the air. Their next best receiver's got nothing, a handful of receptions, less than 200 yards. But Rutgers dropped 45 on them last week. I think the weather would be the one thing that may rein in the Buckeyes' offense just a little bit, because other than that, Michigan State dropped 56 on them earlier in the season. Bowling Green dropped 45. North Texas, that was the one big offensive game they had, was North Texas. So, I assume that barring the run defense just going absolutely off the rails here and allowing Coleman to get untracked, I think, too, this should be a comfortably 3.5 touchdown victory here for the Buckeyes, I'd say, somewhere in that area. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I think that's right. I think they'll probably be on their 40-point plus kind of pace. And, JT Barrett's one touchdown pass away from the all-time Ohio State team record of 30 by Troy Smith.
Does he get that in the first 5 minutes?
He's shredding the record books in any number of ways, and it's just every week is just a treat watching JT Barrett, rewrite the record books and just do things that you never thought he could do. Last week it was the 86-yard touchdown run and showing that deceptive speed, and
yes.
Who knows what he's going to show you this week, but. He's just been the story of the Big Ten this year. I mean, Melvin Gordon might win Offensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten, but boy, it would be a tough vote. It'll be a close vote because JT Barrett has just opened everybody's eyes.
No doubt. I still think, man. I mean, there's a couple games to do it, but I still think that did you see? I think he's what is he in the top 3 odds on the Heisman? I thought I saw, was he 6-1 right now? I know he's definitely right up there near the top as far as the Vegas odds now to win it. And I think that, even a couple of weeks ago it was, he'll be in the discussion. But really, with that pace that just never let up, now people are going, man, that kid's way more in the discussion than we realized a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and the big reason for that, I think, is 4 nationally televised games in a row.
Yeah.
That the whole country now knows who JT Barrett is, where a month ago they really didn't. You've had the Michigan State game, Penn State game, even the Illinois game was on national TV, and then again last week. So that's a big part of it, I think, just exposure. The people becoming familiar with him, and now they've had a chance over the last month to see him on TV and see that he's the real deal.
Buckeyes, Indiana, in Columbus, noon. It's on the Big Ten Network this Saturday. And so, hey, you know what? I didn't even know. Before we go, Browns, obviously, Ben Tate yesterday. What are your thoughts? I mean, we've kind of been talking about this stuff as it's been happening anyway, but what were your thoughts? I think you were listening to the show when I was talking about it in the opening segment, but so you kind of know where I'm at with it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do, and I think it's a good example of not letting the inmates run the asylum, and Pettin and Farmer both kind of put their foot down and said, we're not going to put up with this kind of stuff. And some of that stuff is the stuff, of course, we're talking about is Ben Tate's dissatisfaction with his role on this team, which he at times has sort of downplayed when asked about it in the media, but you can tell that it's infecting the locker room. You can tell by just the quotes that he'll give the media in the locker room after games. And so it's been a little bit subtle, but at the same time, it's not been terribly subtle.
Exactly.
It's sort of been a worst kept secret that Ben Tate is not happy, and he undoubtedly let people know that, and he's let the media know that. So to get rid of that before that, cancerous tumor starts growing in your locker room, you just excise it. You just get it out of here. I said 2 weeks ago to you on the air that I thought that, with all credit and nothing against Ben Tate or against Isaiah Crowell for that matter, that I thought Terrence West ought to be the starting running back for this team, and then now Crowell has sort of made his comeback, even though he's obviously thrown a monkey wrench into the gears with his fumbling problem, but clearly over the last few weeks it's been apparent that Ben Tate's third string, and so it shouldn't make too much of a splash in the media when a team waves the third string running back. Now, I understand they have this Glenn Winston. I didn't know a thing about Glenn Winston until yesterday when I started looking him up, finding out a little bit more about him. He's a guy they signed off of the 49ers practice squad, and who got kicked off of the team at Michigan State. He's had a couple of arrests for assault. He's done some time in prison. He's obviously checkered past is the cliche for a guy like that. 6'2", 220. Farmer apparently likes him and is excited about having him on the team. And so you've got a guy, at least a body that you can put in there, and presumably they think he's more talented and has more promise long term than the guy that they just let go. And also comes decidedly with a cheaper price tag on him, no doubt. They're going to save some money by cutting Ben Tate. I understand a couple of $1 million over the course of 2 seasons. So I'm sure that may have factored into it a little bit, but So now they've got Glenn Winston as their third string running back instead of Ben Tate.